they're brilliant, right? But do you actually have progressive insurance? Like a lot of people.
I didn't even, I'm like, is it Liberty Mutual or is it some insurance? But
Yeah.
I didn't know. I
But you
knew
know that commercial and you know Flow and
yeah,
the
you
whole
want to be a
thing and
very
all of the different, like they're
commercial.
brilliant. So, and I don't know. I'm sure they have that conversation internally about, man, we're really popular, we're reaching it, but is it actually translating to more business? I'm sure it is. I mean, to some degree, but not everybody. So yeah, there's people that are just saying, well, like I do want to know what this thing is, and so that's we're getting to that cognitive piece, right? Like you've hooked me emotionally, but at some point, I actually have to. I'm not just going to buy it because I think because it feels good. Like I actually have to have like, no, this is I'm going to spend money on this because this is actually giving me value. So yes, Brenda, it can't just be an emotional experience. So as we think about ALP, and it was interesting if you want to grab that slide, as we think about, I apologize, I can't remember who it was, and I don't remember if it was a small group or it was in the whole group where we talked about the ALP sort of secret sauce is that we don't have a standard set way of doing things, that we definitely um, cherish the value of people and the people in the organization to be who they are and deliver the way they deliver and connect with the way in the ways that they connect. And there's not sort of a mold. But having said that, there probably is a mold. Like right there's I mean there's no question that all of us share some commonalities around what we believe about education and what and our the value that we place in relationships and kind of all of those things. And so as we think about the ALP story, and this is something that as Janelle and I are working through what it is that we ought to be communicating, we want to think about how do we communicate now, whether it's our values or our framework, right? Because maybe, and it was an interesting discussion when we were working with Eric. We began talking. He was asking a question around. I don't remember what word he used, but I think Amos and I, when we were in the discussion, we were focusing on the values that are on the right, and I'm not sure that we're supposed to be talking about the framework of the idea framework. And so, not that we have to completely separate it, but perhaps our stories ought to stem from one of these two areas, maybe both at the same time. I don't know, but thinking about sort of regrouping around our own ALP's experiences. How can we begin to connect those experiences to those values? Or to the framework. So we wanted to sort of gather the idea of your ALP story. And I think, are we doing a Jamboard next? Janelle, help me out here where we're going next.
We're doing, okay, so we're going to think about how all of that relates to telling ALP's story and the part that you play in it. And we're going to ask people to do a little content creation. So this was in the pre-treat, if you had a chance to look at that, to bring an image of you or from work in the field, a video clip of whatever you wanted, a quote, or you can write a tweet. So if you didn't bring anything, you're going to have time to do it now. But each person's going to grab their own slide. This is linked, the little slide icon. And so this is where Dean and I are going to collect your reflections. So either show something that relates to work that you have done with ALP, or if you're pretty new, you can show something that talks about the work you want to do with ALP or you're looking forward to. We just want a collection of artifacts that tell the story of ALP. So if you've worked in a collaborative slide deck before, make sure you don't steal somebody else's slide. And there are a lot. I think I put 40 some in here. So there's plenty for everybody to have one. If you're an overachiever and want two, there's even enough in there for you to have two. So we're going to take just a short amount of time now for you to populate your slide. Does anybody have questions before we do that? It's all individual.
And don't be afraid to take time to process. Like you don't have to feel like, okay, the second I gotta start making, because it might take you a while to say, like, maybe you have multiple stories that you're thinking of, or maybe nothing coming to mind at the moment. So How long, like, what's the whole activity time we're giving to this, Janelle?
Well, considering we're trying to stay on time, that's already been pushed back and modified. We really have 6 more minutes of our time here with everybody, Dean. Let's at least
right.
just get something started. So if you feel like you want to finish that slide later, you absolutely can. You don't have to get it all done right now.
Yeah.
So if you want to do, this is a
Okay.
little protocol we like to practice. If you want to turn off your video, and then if you get done with your slide quickly, you can turn your video back on and that will show us. Otherwise, just kind of be listening and we'll call everybody back in a few minutes. I'm going to bring everybody back, even if you're not finished yet. Like I said, feel free to continue working on it later. Add more if you want to, or add something different after you've had more time to think about it and process it. Overall, though, it can't be just a couple of us telling the story of ALP, because we all are the ones that can make up ALP. And so we all have a different version, a different perspective, and a different reflection to share to tell the overall story. If you put something on this slide deck, we're going to assume that we have permission to share that in some way if we decide to do that. So if you don't want us to, please change that or add a little note. Or make it facing so that it's okay to share. But we appreciate you thinking through that. In the future weeks to come, as Dean and I continue to craft this vision, we may be reaching out and asking for different ways that you want to contribute to that story. We know not everybody is a writer, so we're not going to just expect everybody to contribute blog content. Some people just want to tweet. Some people are more into sketching or taking photos and have more of an artistic lens that they want to use to tell the story. We want to make sure that we're honoring everybody's voice in the way that you want to share it. So look for more to come, and we appreciate your brain power behind it all today. Dean, do you want to say anything else?
Well, I mean, just again, thinking about, when I first started working with ALP, and I would just hear people communicating or telling their stories, and it was like, wow, that's one of the things that drew me to ALP in the first place, was the fact that we're just doing really great, interesting work around the continent. And I wanted to know more, and people would tease out little references to different projects and groups they were working with. And I just felt like all these stories lived in people's heads and they weren't in a place where they were accessible. Now, again, we have a blog, we have social accounts and so forth. But we just want to get better at having those stories very accessible. And as Janelle said, that they just become a natural part of the way you do things. So maybe as part of a post-delivery report, there's the formal side, and then there's the story. Like, what's the takeaway? We don't know exactly what that will look like, but we want to get to the place where we would have a bank of these and can pull out at any time. So, Eric White's doing amazing stuff with PBL. I can go through and see all the real cool PBL stuff that he's done, and Tammy has done such great work with strategic leadership, that I can find all of the really cool ways in which you've done that, and that we can, because there's that purpose, right? Like, there's the one purpose that we sort of started with. It was like, this is all for, to advertise and market ALP. Well, that's maybe, but that's not necessarily the whole bit of it. It's a lot of it is for us internally to be able to be more in tune with what's happening in all of these different partnerships that we have, that we can then, and this is my sort of secondary goal, is to connect this as part of a community, right? That we can say, hey, if you want to know somebody that's doing really cool work, let me introduce you to Tom Mullaney. He's doing amazing work in Philadelphia, and I want to tell you, and you need to know about this, right? There's Tom. So anyway, that's sort of Janelle's and my task and trying to get to. So if you have sort of insights around what works for you and what you found helpful, or what you'd like to see more in this, please reach out to either of us, as we can incorporate your perspectives and ideas into what we are able to draft. But our goal is to, I guess we're saying by December, that we will kind of have this laid out a lot more formally for you to feel like you have a way to connect back to this.
Thanks, Dean. Okay, we are turning it over to the learning systems infrastructure so they can talk to us about the ABCDs of Monday.
Awesome. Well, welcome. We are super excited every day that the Monday.com company sends us an email that says, hey, look, here are all the new features. And we can't keep up with them, so we know you can't either. What we are hoping to do today is to present you with 2 engagement opportunities. One, we're going to have a really fast-paced share to share some of our favorite ABCDs, right? The awesome, no, what does it stand for? We came up with an acronym and I can't even remember it. Anybody? Julie, this is Lisa.
I can't remember now.
Hey, it's on
It
the
was really good,
agenda.
though.
Best common doohickeys. It's on the
There you
next
go.
slide.
Yeah. So we want to share with you some of our favorite tips and tricks for leveraging the ALP Commons to be more transparent about the work we're doing, to collaborate, and to be efficient. So we've got a few of our favorites this week. By next week, we'll have some new favorites, and we'll continue to keep you updated through various means, but thought we'd have a little fast-paced piece of action right here. The other thing we're going to do after that is to send you out into some groups to do a little scavenger hunt around some of the ways that we can engage and to learn from each other about how we're leveraging the tool. So, Julie, I think you're going to get us started.
I think I am. So one of the things that is a bookmark. So if you've ever lost an update or saw an update and you want to go back to it, but you can't remember how, you can bookmark items. So if you go here to where it says inbox and you click on the inbox and you find out whatever it is, whatever the update is that you want to bookmark, this little down arrow here next to the bell, you can hit bookmark, and that will forever bookmark that as an update. And then you can actually search your inbox by bookmarked updates, and that will show up. So that is one doohickey. Who's up next?
Oh, me. I thought it was Lisa. So I wasn't ready. That's just my story today. I'm just not ready. All right, so if any of you have ever gone into one of your boards and you're like, holy mackerel, this is a hot mess. I can't find the thing I'm looking for because there's too much. Couple of quick tips. One of my favorite features is Control G, boom. When I Control G, it closes up all of the things that are open. So now I can see just the headings. I don't know if that anybody ever has that challenge, but one of my favorites. The other thing I've been leveraging recently is this toolbar. It's quick, easy way to search for yourself. So if you quick and want to find what Janelle, you're doing in Florida, I can find you. You can find yourself really quickly, and it sorts out all the mess of the other people. If you are one of those, I'm not, but say you're an elementary person and you like to have all of your things color-coded. Oh, did I just make an assumption that only elementary people like to do that? Check this cool thing out. This conditional formatting thing will color whatever you put in here. So I've asked it to color code anytime that Craig Bennett is the owner of something. And when I do that, I can fly down through here, and I bet there's some pieces in Pasco that are pink now because, oh, there he is. Look, Craig is the owner of that line item. So lots of cool things you can do here with filters that are much more sophisticated. And I'd encourage you to play with those because I know some of you are looking for ways to find stuff quickly. And there are some great tools here. All right, I'm going to pass it off to Lisa.
So automations. I've been playing around with those and they're pretty cool. You may have seen some notifications that you're getting and it has a little, it's from Monday. You may wonder where they're coming from. Well, we're trying to make Monday do more of the work of the reminders for us rather than us having to do it. So to go to, I'm in our favorite Florida board. If you go into Florida, got people here. So if you go into your board and you click on this automate button, it brings you to the automations and it pulls up all the board automations that we already currently have going on. But if you want to create an automation, you go to Automation Center and they have, cool things to notify you without you having to do any of the work. one of the things that I saw that I liked was there was one about, and then they have so many of these things, you know, you can get lost to try to figure out which one it is that you want, but status change. One that was going on with the sub items. Yeah, so like this one, when all of the sub items have a status of something, then change the item status to something. So now that we have a lot of people are using sub items for all the things that they're doing, and they're marking them as done, and then sometimes they forget to have to change the approved status to done too. So you can just set this up to say when all, and it kind of gives you a sentence. And if it's underlined, then you have choices to make. So it's like all the sub items of an item have the status, and then you have to click on which status, and they give you choices. And if there's no choice, there's hardly any choices, you're still like, okay, that's the status I want. The sub item status of something, when they have the status of done, then change the item's status to done. So that way, when you've got all your sub items done, then automatically your status will be done. And then you can add that to the board, and then that'll click everything for you. So that's one thing that we saw that was pretty cool. Other ones are notification one. And then this one says when a notification one, when a date arrives and status is something, notify somebody. So, and again, they're even cool to when you have to click on each of the underlines and you have to fill it out before it lets you go to the next one. So when the date arrives, it even tells you want to do it ahead of time. Like, you're going to Florida, and so, but you want to have a heads up before you have to go out there, because you want to check in with the people to make sure they're ready for you when you show up. Say, when this date arrives, or 5 days before the date arrives, and you can even put the hour, or you want to get notified at 7 a.m. or you want to get, notified at the end of the day. So it gives you times that you can say, nope, 8 o'clock, 5 days before the date arrives, and the only date we have in there is calendar deliveries. And the status is, you can either say is or is not. Is something you're saying approved because you haven't done it yet, then you want to notify. And here in this notification, you can even put the little note that you want it to say, owner is headed to board name for the item name. And then you can put whatever you want to. You got to make the note short, because we tried to be really verbose one time and it just cut you off after like 2 lines of code. So you can just make yourself a little note and then notify. Who do you want to notify? Do you want to notify me? You want to notify a team member or someone in the people column? Usually it's the owner. You want to notify the owner, go back to it. So that one we thought was pretty cool. And then there's one that you can have it custom, that you can do just about anything. And I will show this to you, but it's sort of like, it says, when this happens, then do this. So it says if any of these things happen, or you can have more options. I mean, they just give you so many options. It can make your head spin. But so if you come to something and you can't find an automation in the list of things that you want it to do, shoot us an email, and maybe we can customize it and figure out how to make it do whatever it is you want to do. But it saves time, and then your notifications will come to you in your little bell notification area. So that's where you're going to see those. Okay.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Back to you, Julie.
All right. So the other day I was in a meeting with Emily and Mandy, and we were taking notes in my little sticky note app. So if you've ever been in a meeting and you wanted to take notes, rather than doing a Google Doc, you can actually build your docs right in Monday. And the way to do that is if you go to any board and click this little add plus thing here, you can go to new doc. This is in beta mode, and actually Katie just introduced us to this. So we'll just call this demo. You can say what, if you want to share it with everybody, if you want it to be private. So you create your doc and it will create a doc right in Monday. You can add all kinds of things. You can add subtitles and titles and things like that. And then the really cool thing though, is you can add boards. So if I wanted to, like we were talking about JCPS the other day with Emily and Mandy and I could have just put in, I could have selected that board and it will put the actual board that we're talking about with line items directly into the document, and it is a live doc. So if you update it in your doc, it automatically updates it in the board. The other super cool thing that you can do is, this is an item. You can take any item or any line that you type and add it as an item in your board. So I'm going to add this to our playground board right here. So if I were to go down here to playground, it added it as a line item, and then you can link it, you can change the status and things like that. So super cool tool that you can use, and you can add it. Right now it's like a separate item on this board, but if you wanted to, you could add it directly to your line item. If you wanted to create and capture the notes from a specific line item, the one thing you do have to do is you have to add a column that's called a files column. So on any of your groups, all the way to the right, there's a little plus. And if you click on that plus, it'll allow you to add a files column. And so you do need to have the files column in place in order to add a note.
Awesome. I'm going to take it home with the Monday app on your phone. So I'm not going to share my screen because you wouldn't see anything. There is a Monday.com app for phones. And one of the things I like about having it on my phone is I can porch sit. For those of you that know me, I like to sit on the front porch. I can use that time productively to check my Monday statuses. And the phone has something that the web browser does not. It has a speech to text option. So when you pull up, I'll just show you, like in case you've never seen one before. Oh, you can't see it. Never mind. Psych. The little microphone icon, like the one on your Zoom browser, it has one of those. And the Monday app, I don't know if it's just I'm very clear with my speech or if it's just really accurate, but I haven't used any swear words at all inadvertently. So it's pretty accurate. So if you talk faster than you can type and you like that feature, it's on your phone. So that's 5 of our favorites, and they come out with new things every week. So we will continue to bring those to you. In fact, something came out just this week, Lori, that you're going to love. I just haven't figured out how to use it yet, but it's an organizer to kind of pull all your things together. So we'll definitely get that out to you in quick order. All right, you ready to get into some groups and play around a little bit? Say yes. Yeah, there we go. It's time for a little scavenger hunt. So let me go ahead and share my screen if I can get the right page up here. We've created some breakouts. And in our breakouts, we recognize that there would be opportunity potentially here to talk with each other about some of your workflow strategies. Some of you are really good at sharing resources and leveraging the ALP Commons to share resources. Others are finding interesting ways to collaborate, are using some calendaring features, some notifications. So we created 4 line items in a board in the breakouts, and you can access that board from the agenda. Julie, if you've got it up, and would drop it in the chat, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm still in my Nellie Mae board. When you get over to that board, you'll see that there are 4 line items. No particular order, no right answers, just opportunities to talk with the folks in your group about some of the different ways that you're leveraging Monday and some of the tips that you have for how you're using it. So we're going to spend just about 10 minutes. I think we've got that much time. Do we have that much time, Janelle? Yeah, thanks. We're going to spend just about 10 minutes exploring those scenarios and digging into those scavenger hunts. So happy to hang around if there are any questions. Otherwise, it looks like you just got prompted to join your group.
I don't think Amos is really here. I think that's fake.
That's his phone tending the smoker.
Ah.
Welcome back, everyone. Because we were all in the same board, I was able to watch your statuses change as you worked through the different challenges and scenarios. I hope that you do not feel challenged if you did not get all the way to the end, because that was really not the intent. The intent was to provide you with opportunities to engage in conversation around high yield practices inside the tool itself. So I'm curious to hear if there were a couple of questions that you had that you need to have answered right now, because we've got a few minutes and would like to be able to answer those questions for you if they exist.
Debbie, you should ask yours.
So Gaynell, I mean, I know that y'all have shown me some things, but sometimes you can get to something from one place and you can't from the other. So I'm just sitting in the main board right now, and to the right are my breakout groups. How do I get back to the just me stuff? Where I can go and pick a consultant and I can see just me, because I keep struggling. You must have to be in just the right place, like in a board maybe. Okay, so I see it in a board. I don't see it in the main board.
Okay, now you're on mute.
Thanks, Julie. It was all my genius. I was hiding it from you. Is this the problem of Debbie, that you can't see this side panel? No, okay. I'm not sure what the question is.
Debbie's on mute.
So you showed a few minutes ago how to go and click and find a consultant, and I could click on my picture and it'll be all my stuff. But I think I just figured it out. You have to be in a partnership, in a state, not just in the main board.
Probably, yeah. Yep.
You can also go up to the filter and unclick yourself. So if you're in a board and you click on yourself, it shows just your task. But if you go back up and then there's a little X, if you click on the X, it'll show up with everybody.
Well, and that's what gets confusing for me. I can see it in the board, but I can't see it in the main workspace. So I just have to kind of remember where I can do things and where I can't.
Yeah. Let's recreate that later, Debbie, and make a video of it. So if anybody else bumps into it, that we have it as a solution. That sounds like that's something that other folks are going to bump into.
I'm just thankful to find it again. I found it like 3 weeks ago and I've never seen it since. I haven't seen it.
Awesome. Any other questions come up in your groups that you want to bring forward and see if we have answers to?
I was wondering about what Lisa shared with the different notifications and stuff. How much of that is affecting like my personal workspace versus affecting everybody's workspace?
Do you mean speed, or do you mean notifications, as in it's going to tell everybody the same thing?
Notification.
I guess you have to be, cognizant when you're making one. Like this one, this one here is only going to affect the owner because it's got owner on it. If it doesn't say a person at the end, if it doesn't give you a specific person, then it impacts everything. for the most part, it impacts most everything on the board. You just sort of have to narrow it down to just get a few items. And even so, it may not necessarily work. Like the one here, it says 90 days before calendar delivery starts and status is unscheduled, notify Gainell. Well, that doesn't completely work because the way they're working on it at Monday, because it just goes on the 90 days before calendar delivery start and it sends out a notification. It jumps a gun and it forgets that it's supposed to check the and portion of it. So it's a bug in the system. Monday knows about it and they'll fix it. So if you have questions with when you want to have a notification, whether it's going to impact everybody or not, just shoot us an email.
Yep.
Awesome.
We have a couple of notifications set up now that are connected to the status column that when Rachel, I'll use you as an example, when you change the status to pending approval, it's notifying the partnership coordinator. And when I change it to approved, it notifies multiple people that need to know, some outside of our organization to include Dell. So there are a few things that we can do that notify multiple people. And then there are lots of things that we can do that can be specific to you. So if you have a, can you make it do this wish? We can work with you to make it specific to you. We've got time for one more question. All right, so Lisa, we've created, I can keep sharing my screen since I'm right here, or I can give it over to you. Did you want to talk about the templates that you created for us?
Either, sure. Yeah, you can just keep sharing the screen and I can talk you through it. So at the last retreat, Craig was talking about the consultants only page on the website that has some documents and templates for consultants. We went ahead and kind of recreated that information here. So we've got it broken out into ALP collateral and Dell branded collateral that you can see that it just different templates that we have. And you can go over to the right, you can see the link. I guess that's about it. We're going to continue to add as we go. We just wanted to try to make things easier for people to find and to be able to find it in multiple places. And these links are to the same links that it is on the consultants only page. So you get the same documents, and if they get updated, they're going to be updated in both places. And we're working on other works as well.
And so that particular board is shared with you because we wanted you to be able to leverage this search everything resource, bottom left, little magnifying glass that helps you find templates that you can use when you're getting ready to create an agenda or a slide deck, so that we can begin to have some common brand across the company. Just Monday or Tuesday, I don't know, they all blur together these days. We talked with our designer, and he's going to help us with some additional collateral that will be branded ALP Dell, so that we can have additional resources here and available to you to use. So thanks, Lisa, for starting to curate these for us in a way that they should be easy for us to find by searching for ALP agenda, ALP slide decks, so and so. The other thing that we will begin to do in the near future is to begin to curate other resources that align to our deliveries. And so we haven't shared this board with you yet, but we do recognize that there are a lot of things you do where we already may have some existing assets that would help you get started. So we're going to curate those in a way and name them with a really consistent naming convention. So again, they'll be easy to search and sort in case you want to pull something to help you get started with something that might be newer to you. So all of that is, if we want to follow today's theme, on the horizon. And because I believe in start on time and end early, I'm going to hand it over to Janelle just a couple of minutes early to take us to wherever we go next.
And because apparently I cannot MC and modify the time frame at the same time, Dean and I got us all caught back up. So we're just going to take credit for that, even though it was my own mistake. So we get the full half hour during hallway time. So use that time to learn something new or talk to people that you haven't gotten a chance to, or take a break if you need to.
Bye, John.
Great.
I'm going to pass it over to Craig and Mike to kick us off for our Thursday at 3 time.
All right.
Yay, Thursday at 3. It's Thursday at 3. Woohoo! So we thought this would just be a fun way really to launch this thing. We've kind of heard whispers in the background from Amos of what this thing is and what it could be for us. And so behind the scenes, we've been planning this thing, and Mike's with us today to launch phase 1 of this. But just, I won't steal any thunder, but this is going to be our Thursday at 3 for September. So we'll just kind of keep building on the experience over the next couple of Thursdays throughout September. Don't feel like you have to be at every one to participate at every one, but definitely the ride will be worth it if you ride it all the way through. So Amos, I'll turn it over to you just real quick, because I'll let you introduce Mike. I know you guys have a different type of connection.
We do. Mike, it's great to have you with us, and we're thrilled that you're here. Team, Mike is one of the most creative curriculum and learning experience designers that I've met in my travels. And his career path, his life path, is something that you'll grow to learn over the course of this year. But it truly is serendipity that our paths crossed. Mike has created this process called Time Travel Journeys that provides middle school children and adults with an opportunity to understand who they are, who they were, and who they'll be, all in this crazy amalgamation of perspectives and kind of trust falls, as it were. And so we're really excited to provide a platform, Mike, for you to facilitate us as learners in. And so I guess I'll get the rest of it can explain itself.
Great. Thank you so much, Amos. And thank you everyone for making me part of your Thursday at 3. I love the name, by the way. You never get lost in what day or time you're on. But yeah, so I'm Mike. I've met a lot of you, some from before this, some last week's Thursday at 3, but I am the founder and I guess chief time traveler of Time Travel Journeys, social emotional learning program that I will get more into the concept and background of it, but I created this 2 years ago and kicked it off as a middle school class at Carolina Friends School, where I was a student, and where I came back and pitched this idea to teach this class. And I had this wild kid in this class who just lit up the room. His name was Ansel. And I got to know Ansel. It was a lot of fun to have him in my class. And I remember seeing the email signature as I communicated with the parents and learning about you guys. And Amos has been just a great mentor, and now Katie as well. And I just am so grateful for the guidance that Amos, that you've given me, and for the opportunity to be part of this. This is a big deal to me, and I really appreciate it. However well it goes, I just want y'all to know to start something and just build it brick by brick, and then to have the opportunities like this is really, really meaningful. So I'm super excited. I've mostly taught this to middle schoolers, and just this past summer, a year ago, noticed the teachers getting more into it, and then this past summer did a staff workshop for a Jewish community center in Raleigh, and then some kind of shifting into that realm now, and it's been a lot of fun. So I want to kick things off with just kind of a what if scenario to kind of capture the energy and the vibe of what we're doing. And so I want you to just think of the scenario of what if you could travel back in time and just have a conversation with every younger version of yourself, and sit down and talk with yourself at age 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and up to every other age that you lived up to your current age. And think about, what would you tell those younger versions of yourself to help them at the time that they're going through? And what would those younger versions of yourself tell you to help you with what you're going through today? And what could this show you about who you were in your past, but not just the past, who you are today, and then who you want to be in your future? And if we all went through this exercise and all connected and expanded our sense of self to who we were and who we want to be, and if we all did this and then shared with each other and connected through that, what would that do for the connections we have with each other, not just with ourselves, but with each other? And that's what we're going to be focusing on, that connection with self and that connection with each other, and deepening both of those and seeing what that can do in the work that we create for educators and for students. So as far as your ALP time travel journey, what exactly is this? What are we doing? This is a guided exploration and awakening of the best qualities of your past selves, who you were when you were younger, your future selves, who you want to be when you're older, and then how those can uplift and strengthen your present sense of self. And so what we're doing this for is connection. It's connection to self, and it's connection to each other. And there's this really interesting team building aspect that is going to come out in working with you all. And it's really just this idea of understanding each other on a deeper level, in terms of understanding the past influences and experiences that have shaped us, and then the future goals and dreams that drive us. And on a really simple level, just if you're thinking in terms of one-on-one connections, if I connect with any one of you, we can talk about what we're going through in the present time. But if we go into our past and share what really shaped us, what made us who we are, what were the key influences and experiences and memories that make us who we are and shape the people and personalities that we are. And then if we look ahead, look at what are the goals and aspirations and dreams that we have that motivate us and drive us and get us out of bed in the morning. And when we really understand those aspects of each other, we get to know each other on a deeper level. And I think there's unity that comes out of that, and a tighter working experience. So we're going to be looking at those things, past, future, and how they uplift the present in those connections. And real simple format for Thursdays at 3. We're going to be doing, this is our launch session, and then we're going to be doing asynchronous challenges and these group sessions at Thursdays at 3. So the challenges will lead up to the synchronous sessions. So looking at the roadmap, thanks for the switch there. So this is our launch session, and then the format will be starting tomorrow or this evening if you want, challenges that will go right up to the next session, and then we'll go into those Thursdays at 3, reflecting on the past week of challenges and re-engaging in them and seeing what comes out of those. And then we'll go through a past phase and a future phase, similar format, challenges leading up to the session, have a present, challenges leading up to that group session. And then we'll wrap it up on the last Thursday of September with a time travel party, partly to be determined, but a lot of sharing, and maybe we'll break out some favorite childhood snacks or something. We can switch slides there.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. So we'll kick off this launch session. The concept of time travel journeys, this is about exploring your past and future selves to discover your best self and form our best team. And so the background, I had a really interesting journey to get to this point. And it all kind of started with that what if that I kicked things off with. What if I could travel back in time to every age of my past? What would I learn about who I was in my past and where the time went, who I am today, and who I want to become in my future? And so I was approaching age 40, asking a lot of those big questions. Who was I? Who am I? Who do I want to be? And I felt this really strong calling to go back in time and connect with who I was in the past and literally answer the question, where did the time go? And so without being able to find an actual time machine, I thought, what if the best way to go back in time would be to connect with someone from each of those ages that I've lived? So I did this interview project at the school that I went to growing up, the Carolina Friends School, and we pulled together 40 people from ages 1 to 40, and I sat down with each of them and did an interview, and yes, even with the 1-year-old, and got some really cool insights out of that, and just had this magical experience of sitting down face to face with these younger versions of myself. And like, you know, I'm connecting with these different community members, but every interview is taking me back to who I was. So I had this really beautiful experience. Got to the 40th interview on my 40th birthday, where I turned the tables and the people that I interviewed me, and just had this beautiful wrap up. And every interview was just about asking, what is it like to be you? What is it like to be the age that you are? What are your passions, your talents, your hobbies, your fears, your social life, your family life? And just had this phenomenal experience. Walked out of there and thought, okay, now what? What do I do with this? And I just wanted the opportunity to take this experience and enable others to have it as well, and see what if I could bottle this up and create an experience for other people to go through. And my first inclination was middle schoolers. And so we can go to that next slide with the insights. So I came out of this, and there are really 3 insights that I'll share today that came out of this. And one was this twist on an old cliche. You all know the saying, if I only knew then what I know now, right? And there's this hint of regret in there, right? Like, I missed out. But what I started feeling in this was, what if I knew now what I knew then? And in other words, like, what if I could tap back into what I knew is a truth of being a child, and those qualities of those pure qualities of imagination and curiosity and creativity and playfulness and compassion, like that we just have an abundance of it. You know, it's so much of what I saw, like in this is the 2-year-old, this picture, just came so naturally to these kids. And what if I could bring those into my life today? And then the second insight I found was that as I tapped into those qualities from the past and brought them into my present, it gave me a new view of the future and who I want to be and what I can create with those qualities. Imagine if we all got infused with this boost of curiosity and creativity and just that imagination of like taking, a blob of Play-Doh and turning it into something magical, or just the way kids see things. There was a 6-year-old I interviewed, and she kept telling me about this secret hidden nest. And I was like, can I see this secret hidden nest? Where is this? And I'm picturing it like on the outskirts of campus. She walks me to the middle of the playground and points to this old beat up tire. And I'm like, this jaded adult voice in my head is thinking, that's it? That's the secret hidden nest? But she saw through the eyes of the 6-year-old something magical, and her friends are playing with it, tossing the pine straw. And so when I tapped into that, it gave me this just fun, wide open view of what I want in the future, my future self. And then third, which I've mentioned already, is that this is a path to deeper connection. And Amos, you talked about the conversations that you've had with your kids through this. I find that, it's that connection to myself, but also to others. And when I go past the water cooler chit chat and really get into who we were in our past and who we want to be in our future, it strengthens that connection. And it's a really interesting path to do so, especially in a team environment like this. Go on to the next. So we are going to jump into this now. And first off, just any questions or thoughts, comments so far? Is everybody kind of with this and feeling it?
Yeah. I absolutely am feeling it. I was just really quick. I had a party at my house, and this little boy, he's about 5 years old. He came running up to me because we have a room with a lot of stuff for kids. And he was like, "It's this room in your house. I can't find it. It's the most magical. It's this room. It has everything in mind." And for a moment, I was like, what room is he talking about? Where is it? I don't even know where it's at. Let's go look for it. Yeah. And so I went and found the room where the kids' toys were, but his excitement around that, just, seeing things through the eyes of a child, right?
Yeah, it's amazing. So obviously, in order to time travel, we obviously need a time machine, duh. So we are going to do our first exercise activity is going to be designing our own time machines. And so the prompt that I had given ahead of time was to, which you may have done. If you haven't, you can take a minute to think of it, but to think of or even bring a personally meaningful object or belonging or icon or archive or experience from your, that's not necessarily from your past, probably from your past, but something that transports you out of the present. And we often use these phrases like, wow, that took me back. Or even if it's something in the future, like, wow, I want that so much. I can picture myself there. I can taste it. And so the idea was to come up with that object in mind. And if you haven't done so, you could take the beginning of this and kind of think of what that is. And we're going to use that as the basis, the foundation of your time machine. And your time machine, there's a silliness to this, a playfulness, but the depth behind it is that it's going to be your mental and emotional trigger to take you out of the present time and to time travel and to really reconnect to your past and future. And I hope that whatever we create, you can keep it, on your desk or your desktop or whatever as a reminder to go into those different phases. And so a couple examples. This was a middle school student made this in like 8 minutes. It was ridiculous. The dabbing unicorn. And so an important possession to her was this toy unicorn from her childhood. And so she used that as the basis of this flying unicorn, where you climb the ladder into the unicorn, you set the age to travel to, and then you fly to that age. And obviously the fuel tank is filled with rainbows. The one I had, my possession that I thought of were these 1991 Air Jordans. And I just remember being 11 years old and putting those on and feeling invincible, like I could literally fly, and just being like the coolest kid in school for a day. And so this is the basis for my time machine. I'm not a creative drawer. That's a Google image. That's what I would have looked like if I drew it. But but conceptually, you don't have to draw it. It's fun to draw them, sketch them out, but just conceptually, just to come up with what is that object? How does the time machine part work? So, with mine, I put these Air Jordans on. I think of the age I want to go to. I tap the logo, the number of years I want to travel back or forward, and then boom, I'm there. So I want to show you some examples that some students made, and then how they inspired some teachers to get into this as well. So if we can play that video. These are a few time machines from kids.
I'm going to show you my time machine. This is nothing to see here. It's just a Mango Move On 2.0. It's Mango, but underneath the skin here, there's a keypad, and if you enter in the date that you want to go back to, you will be magically transported back to that date. This is my time machine. Its name is Door. It is a door. This is my Tree of Destiny, and this is a portal, so you go in that way, and then you think of somewhere you want to go, what time, and it'll zap you there.
Okay, hi, so this is my time machine, and then this is how far back in time you want to go. So I can just do 5 years and then go like that. And then you're there. Bye.
Let me tell you, I used to have an idea of what a time machine was, and it's just totally blown out of the water now. like dozens, all the different groups I've worked with, classes and workshops and summer camps, and kids just repeatedly, continuously come up with these amazing ideas for what their time machine is. And what I've seen as the kids have gotten into this, one of the cool things that I've witnessed in this program is that the teachers, and we'll talk to one of them in a little bit, who went through this, but they get into it. So if we can flip to the next slide, this is what
I'll show you my time machine.
Sorry. I'll give an example of a time machine that a teacher created. And what's really cool is when the teachers get into it, the connection deepens between the students and the
Hey
teachers.
everyone, I've been inspired by your time machines, so I wanted to share mine as well. So I made this with watercolor markers. It's the Ultra Deluxe Time Traveler plus Disguise. So you can see it's a large flowered hat with a big brim and dark glasses. I realized I got the perspective on those glasses kind of wrong, but I decided to leave it that way anyways. And so what it is you have to put the hat and the glasses on. You turn the brim of the hat around clockwise to go forward in time, and you have to turn it around the number of years you want to travel forward. And if you want to go backward in time, you do counterclockwise, the number of years you want to travel backwards. And then once you're in the past or the future, you can use the hat and the sunglasses as a disguise. So that, for example, if you see people you knew in the past, they won't be confused by seeing future you. I just figure it's always good to be able to have a disguise when you're time traveling. So that's mine.
Cool stuff. Okay, your turn. So the task now, step one is we are gonna take a little bit of time on our own, 7 to 10 minutes, and you are gonna sketch out or describe your time machine and be ready to answer 3 parts of it. One is that, similar to what you saw, how does it work and what name would you give it? And then we want to come up with 2 destinations. And this is just foot in the water here. The first one is, what past version of yourself would you like to go back to and kind of hang out with for a day? And this could be, you could think of a particular age, a grade, a vacation, a birthday party, an adventure you went on, a friendship, and then come up with, similarly, what is one future version of yourself that you'd like to go ahead to for a day? And that, again, that can be a particular age you pick, an experience, a location, maybe it's something you achieve, a phase of life you get to. And so we're going to do that on our own, come back, and then we'll do some breakout rooms to share these experiences. Everybody good? Any questions? Cool.
Yeah, so we'll typically just shut cameras off, give everybody that quiet think time, draw time, create time, and then
what's a good amount of time, Craig, you think?
Yeah, I mean, we'll check in at 7 minutes, see how people are doing, and if we need a little bit more time, we'll do that as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Sarah, you said sketch or describe. Are we doing a video? Are we doing a?
Oh, you could if you just take a pen, markers, piece of paper. If you want to do a video, I'm wide open to how you express this.
I was just looking at what you already did. So okay.
Yeah, whatever works for you.
Okay.
Bullet points if you're not a visual person.
Okay. All right.
Good sign. It's a good sign. Can we get one example for someone want to share with the group?
I can. Oh, I already heard someone.
No, go ahead. I'm in my car, someone's driving. So go ahead.
I'm trying to hold on. I made a slide because I was like, I needed something to make it visual here. But I want it to be legible. So let me just make it.
Yeah, I think I can pull it up this way.
All right. Let me drag it over. Testing all my technology presenting skills at once.
Building up the suspense.
Yeah, here we go. I'm really excited. I've been thinking about this since I was given the prompt.
Wow.
You guys see my
gosh.
Thing? I know, I told you. I was like, I want to do it. I've been thinking. So here's the thing. I actually own this. And it's a watch fob from the Flint Wagon Works. And I actually only came upon it recently. My husband bought it for me because he found out one of my relatives who for a brief time was the governor of Michigan and then wasn't, but he was part of this business, the Flint Wagon Works. And in the 1880s, they started making wagons and they were part of the beginning of the auto industry in Michigan. But they sold the company for like $10 to the guy who, they were bankrupt at one point and they sold the company for like $10. And it's Buick. It was the beginning of Buick and some of the major auto industry stuff.
Wow.
So anyway, I actually love it because it reminds me that I had relatives that were willing to take big risks, but also fail largely and just kind of say, no, I can't do this and to sell. So anyway, so this is my portal. I've actually been using it unintentionally as a time travel thing already. But you hold it in your hand or you rub it and kind of close your eyes, feel that whoosh, and then, get to where you want to go. And I really want to visit 8th grade me. I was living back up north where I'm from, and I was staying with family friends so I could finish out middle school. But I was in all the sports and every team club. I was managing everything if I wasn't on the team. And then I just am curious sort of where her brain was, the Wheatley in 8th grade. And my parents were both alive then. And then the last thing is I want to look at retirement age me. I want to know, how do I get there? And then also what my family's like. So we're growing our family, and I'm just curious, sort of where did we end up with that? And also where I'm located, because at this point we've talked about relocating, and I don't know if I'll be in the same city or not. So
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you actually have it with you. Can we do like a 5-minute breakout so we get groups doing round robin and sharing, or do you want to keep it group? I'll leave it up to you guys.
Yeah, let's break out. There she's got it.
Cool. Great.
Thanks, Rachel.
Hey, Rach, I'm going to switch to my phone because I got to go pick up kids. Is it okay
right.
to put them in a different room? Thanks.
Yep, totally.
This is the room for that, Julie. I'm in the car driving. I'm driving, but I'm being driven, so.
Yep, be
On the
safe.
road. Yep.
Any particularly interesting insights that came out of that? I want to keep things moving because I know we're getting close here, but on time. Craig, you think we should just jump into the next session?
Yeah. I would just say, like,
Yeah.
The thing that was interesting was just the excitement level of people sharing their stories, just like people smiling, people connecting with like someone in their past, a smell, a sound, something like that just brought people back really. And it was just really special to be in that room and hear those stories being shared. So I'm sure you all had similar experiences, but keeping in time, 4 o'clock is our mark. So we want to invite Henry to the party.
Yeah, so I want to introduce, guys, this was one of my favorite middle school teachers back when I was in middle school at Carolina Friends School, back 30 years ago was when we first connected. And he was, when I had come up with this weird idea of what if I could interview 40 people from ages 1 to 40, he was the first guy I reached out to, and he was just like, come on back. And I came back in after years and years, and it was just like nothing. It was like we had just been together a week ago. So, and so Henry has been just such an amazing advocate of the interview project, of this time travel journeys program. He was just a huge help and mentor in getting this from a class to something that every middle schooler went through last year. And so I had the privilege of co-teaching with Henry and having Henry and 4 other language arts teachers teach this time travel journeys program. And so I wanted to just bring Henry on to give some insight to you all of just from the perspective of an adult and an educator taking this program. And Henry is in his 51st year as a teacher. I like to tell people that we have a combined 53 years of teaching experience. So Henry, if we just take a few minutes, I'd love to hear your perspective. And guys, if you have any questions that come up for Henry about his experience going through this for himself and with the kids, that would be great. Henry, take it away. You're on mute, Henry.
I really want to speak to why I teach in the middle school, because I find the middle school an incredible transition time. And it's just like every year we take the 10-year-olds into the middle school because we start in the 5th grade and they're still children. And then they leave us about 14 and they're young adults. And I was just talking to one of my classes today and I said, you're right in this cusp where you need to remember the child that's within you. So I'm going to take them on a whole thing with writing poetry of going back to when Santa Claus was real and they would leave stuff out for the fairies. But I said, you're also at the cusp of the adult coming who's going to be dealing with really significant issues that we're going to deal in the 7th and 8th grade in my classes of literature. And to me, the most important thing one can do is to try to hold all the sides of yourself together. So this whole idea of in the middle of the pandemic, when so many of the kids are losing it, there's just too many of them. There's at least, I would say 10% of the kids I've been teaching who are just in desperate strait. And they've got to have other people and connecting with other people. This was a way we thought, well, we can have them connect with the parts of themselves that they need to remember. And to have a kid who's in the middle of the angst of puberty, in the middle of the angst of pandemic, to go, what is the advice the preschooler would tell you? And a lot of them would just say, joy. Remember the joy in life. Get back to the joy. And one of the things that did surprise me, I didn't think they would have as much hope for the future as they tended to have. They tend to get really positive about, well, what is upcoming? I think one of the things that Mike has done well is you got an interest in dance. And so he got an African-American 8th grader or 7th grader with a person, African-American woman who's teaching dance. And just like what that did for the kid of being able to go, oh, or another kid who dreams of being a person flying. And he's now in a school that's actually going to be a part of it, working on designing airplanes. And it's just, to me, there is so much that tears us asunder and atomizes us into smaller and smaller pieces. And what I like about this time travel journey is that it fits what I think we need, of any kind of way to get out of the prison of ourselves into discovering ourselves as a piece of larger wholes, whether it's the larger whole of time, going back parts of ourselves, or going forward, or the larger whole of community. And a lot of what I just saw a little bit of it in the breakout room, the connecting that can happen when you go, well, this is what I did. I created this way to travel. I remember this thing. And there was some hard stuff in that breakout room just a little while ago talked about. And that's all that makes us human, is the positive and the negative, and somehow getting out of the prison of ourselves, as I said, and into the connection with others. That's my short whatever.
That's awesome, Henry. Yeah, and it was just beautiful to see the work that came from your students. You know, every language arts teacher kind of had a different spin on this, and Henry had a focus on poetry, and to see the poems that these kids wrote about their younger selves, and even to their younger selves in the forms of letters or poems, thanking those younger selves and for the qualities that they had and that they're coming back alive. Yeah, it's been really cool. Any questions for Henry and what he's gone through? We just got a minute here left before we'll jump into the last section.
So I was just going to say, Henry has taught Ansel, and when Ansel did this, it was such an amazing opportunity to connect with him as a parent, and to learn that, you know, he really didn't feel that good about himself when he was little, and he was struggling with some sensory processing stuff, and he thought of his younger self as a bad kid. And to be able to talk to him and say, you were just going through your stuff and you did such a good job. And so like, you were a beautiful child. And then sharing memories with him about what a wonderful kid he was. It's just really amazing. And so thank you, Henry.
Yep.
And thank you, Mike, for guiding him through that.
Ansel still is a wonderful kid.
Yeah, he lights that classroom up. There was a moment when I took the kids up to the early school and they interviewed and hung out with preschoolers, and I saw Ansel. There was a preschooler that he connected with, and that kid gave him a hug, and I remember him saying like he just saw himself in this kid, and he's like, I just couldn't have a bad day after that. I felt my younger self. And you could, yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Katie. Henry, thank you so much. This is short but sweet. I mean, you're a legend to me and a lot of people for the time and care that you put in to so many students and now adults. Thank you so much.
Yeah, glad to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for inviting me. Now I'm going to go work on knitting, putting up pictures of middle schoolers up on the wall that I just got in the mail today, because of trying to hold the community together as much as possible to build a community.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Henry. Feel free to hang out for a few more minutes or take off. Guys, we got 3 minutes to wrap up here. So big next step here. The next phase is the past phase. And we're going to be doing a similar format as today and next Thursday at 3 in a week from today. But leading up to that, I've got a series of challenges for you to engage in. You don't have to do all of them. I would hope that we could do at least a couple of them. But just the idea here is to engage in these challenges that connect you to your past and awaken these qualities of your younger selves. And some are going to resonate for different people. So some examples. So just to run through them real quick, we've got, can you go? So yeah, a couple examples here. We got a deck for you guys, which really goes through each of them. But some examples are like play with Play-Doh. Open that thing up and let the smell of the Play-Doh out and build something with the Play-Doh and see what comes out. And think about like that sense of imagination and creativity that comes out of it. Building a fort is another one that just everybody seems to connect with on this, of making a pillow and blanket fort. If you have kids, other family members that you can team up with, there's this element of collaboration, getting out a bunch of pillows and blankets. The teachers were doing this, kids were doing it, keeping them up for weeks. And what's cool is the memories that these spark. And you could see this. Could you go back one sec? Oh. Sorry. Just the memories that these spark. This one student reflecting, the minute I grabbed the first pillow, the memories came back to me. I'd be with my brother and sister, laughing, playing games, having fun. And so there's that reflection that comes out of it and the people that are associated. Another one, you can go to the next slide. One of my favorites is childhood media memories. So go on YouTube, pull up some TV shows, movie trailers, songs that take you back to times of your life. This was mine, MC Hammer, You Can't Touch This. Takes me right back to 5th grade. And then there's different types of activities, more hands-on. One of the slides that popped up in the first session today was write a love letter to yourself. And that is one of the challenges you could do, of writing a letter to your younger self. Pick a younger self of yours and what would you say to that kid to show gratitude for who they were, or to help heal them, or whatever it is. But so a lot of different activities. Engage in a couple of them, and then we're going to be doing reflections in next Thursdays. This was a great quote I'll end on from a middle schooler who really connected to her past. And she said, reliving my toddler years was like digging deep into the ground and finding gold, realizing how valuable that time of life is. So I will end it on that. Take that spirit and go into these challenges, have fun with them, and look forward to sharing next week. This was an awesome launch session, guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So real quick, so what we'll do is in the Commons, we'll put the resources in there. But I think one of the cool things that could be helpful for this group is we wanted to have a place where we could share our either your drawing or your slide. So when you see that post come out of the time travel kind of recap, if you will, drop it in that reply so that we can kind of start to add some of those artifacts to this journey inside of the Commons, and we'll use that as a nice way to capture this experience. So you'll see us, we'll post that later, but look, there's some people in here that always show up for Thursday at 3. So thank you for that, for those folks. And for the other people, bring somebody next time or come as many times as you want in the month of September to stay on this journey with us. So Mike, thank you so much. It was awesome.
Thanks, Greg.
We're looking forward to it. Amos, thank you for bringing us to this. And, we'll have some fun with this. Dean, thank you for the sound effect. But that's 4 o'clock, 4:01. See everybody.
All right.
An awesome day.
Cool. Thank you so much, everyone. This is so cool.
Au revoir. Thank you.
Happy time traveling. Happy time traveling.
All right.